Morning, all. So, just a few small items to discuss this morning, or maybe they're big items depending on which teams you cheer for. So, if you're a Florida fan, today's a good day. Now, MacKenzie Wieger signs a 3-year extension worth $3.25 million per year. MacKenzie Wieger is the best defensive defenseman that the Florida Panthers have. I'm pausing in case anybody wants to argue that, but you're just yelling at your computer, your phone, or your TV. Probably looks kind of silly. But yeah, he is the best defensive defenseman they have. I'm glad they didn't end up trading him, again, from just a Florida perspective, because there were rumors that maybe he'd end up being traded because his demands weren't something they were going to be able to meet and all of this. But in the end, he signs contract extension, and it's a decent one for both team and player. So, that's the best outcome. Because I remember seeing online various fan bases, if Weegar's on the market, we should go get him, and thinking, if Florida trades him. So, yeah, that didn't happen. The Rangers, they work out a deal with Brendan Lemieux. Teams don't want to go to arbitration. Players don't want to go to arbitration, so they get it done beforehand. 2 years at $1.55 million per season. So Lemieux is now signed. And if you're an arbitrator, I wonder if you sit in your office going, let's see, my schedule for today is, just signed. Well, tomorrow we have, they just signed. All right. We're good. Maybe they play table tennis in their office because they don't have a lot of arbitration hearings to do. I know that's not how it works. Anyways, so yeah, Lemieux signed. Weegar signed. 2 more off the block. We get closer and closer to the 8th. A couple days from now, that's when all the arbitration stuff ends, and then we'll see if there's trades that are going to be made. Speaking of which, there's a headline that's out there, but you need to read between the lines if you're a Caps fan. So Ovechkin says he wants to finish his career with Dynamo Moscow of the KHL, which makes sense. And the whole way through, I've said, Ovechkin eventually will probably want to finish out his career in Russia. And the thing is, he's a UFA next summer, but he wants to stay with the Capitals. So I think the key thing here is not to panic. When you hear Ovechkin say, I'd like to finish out my career in the KHL, no. He does say, in a few years, at points in this interview, and he's basically saying, when I finish it out. And I think it's the same standard as Jagr. I'll put it that way. How many years was Jagr in the NHL? How long did he hold on before he went to his hometown to finish things out? And even now, is he finished? We'll see. So, yeah, Ovechkin, he's going to try to stay with the Caps. He wants to stay with the Caps. I think he wants to win another championship. And so it is good news. But the headline that he may want to, end up in the KHL at some point has to be troubling. Because it was one thing that I thought would affect his chase for Gretzky, because I think we're more concerned with his chase for Gretzky's goal record than he is. I don't think he's overly concerned about it if he really thinks about it much at all. So, like, for instance, if we have a shortened season, and if all these shortened and missed seasons end up costing him that record, I don't think he's going to care. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to care about it. Maybe Ovechkin in his early 20s would have said that would have been great and it would have been a really important thing, but it feels like as he's matured, the individual accolades mean very little, and it's more about, I want to win a championship. And that 2018 Cup, he doesn't want that to be the only one. So yeah, Ovechkin, we'll see what happens. Now, the NBA, I know you haven't seen the NBA magnet on this board on this channel, but they've announced December 22nd as their start date. That has to push the NHL. It has to. The NBA and the NHL, their schedules do overlap. And there's definitely not... They're not competing for the same audience. But if basketball's the one that's existing at the time, like, for instance, yesterday I tweeted out about this, if the NHL doesn't come back, then I'll be, doing videos on my second channel discussing basketball, and I'd rather be discussing hockey because hockey's coming back, which was taken by one as a pot shot at basketball, which it wasn't. It really wasn't. If you want to watch a show and it's not on that night and you go, well, I got to watch something else then, it's not that you don't like the other show you're watching necessarily, because if you put on something you don't like, why are you watching it? It's that, I can enjoy a good basketball game. I could get into watching Raptors basketball because that's what I'm going to be stuck watching a lot because it's Canada, right? So I'm sure there will be games from, American teams shown, but what can happen is the NBA, if they're the only winter sport existing at the time, they will gain a foothold in some Canadian markets as well. Canada has been, in general, gaining interest in the NBA over the last few years. Anyway, success by the Raptors will do that. So, it is possible that in December, if the NHL doesn't have some announced comeback, that the NBA's coverage in Canada is only going to increase. So they not only have to worry about losing that casual hockey fan in the U.S., they'd also have to have some concern about some fans in Canada saying, I like the NBA better. The generation that's following mine, so the Gen, I'm Gen X, so your millennials and that, there seems to be more interest in the NBA with them, and in a lot of cases, than the NHL. Just in discussions I have with people of that age and such through the channel and otherwise. I remember having those discussions with my son at one point where he said, yeah, no, kids talk more about the NBA than the NHL. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens because, again, the NHL needs to figure this out. They got to figure a way to do it safely and a way to do it that makes a lot of sense. The NFL is taking some criticism right now for basically not taking player safety into consideration as they should. And a lot of positive tests coming out, and the NFL basically has this idea of, well, we've got to play. We've got to play. So where they were delaying games earlier in the year, now they're just basically taking the attitude of, well, we'll just get that guy out of there then, and we'll just put everybody else on the field, and we'll just ignore it. And it has the potential to kind of blow up. So we'll see what happens there. And again, the NHL is watching what every other league does, but the NBA trying to push and say, okay, we're going to come back in December. The interesting thing is the NBA championship was awarded after the Stanley Cup, and they're coming back before. And again, it's true, without a border to have to worry about other than for the Raptors, that definitely helps. And 25 to 50% is what they're looking at for proposed attendance. But we'll see what happens. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below as always. Thank you guys so much for all your support throughout, especially with the fact that hockey's been down for as long as it's been. And really, since free agent day, there hasn't been a lot of big news, and yet the channel's still doing really well. So thank you guys so much for all your support throughout all this. And hey, if you haven't already hit like and subscribe, go ahead and do that. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, as I said. And hey, I will talk to you again soon.